If you know me, I am get a little bit harsh when it's about not only DC superhero movies, but also get a little bit too harsh when it's about Dwayne Johnson. Uh, and from this mixture of words that I gave out, you probably know that I just came back from watching the latest DC superhero movie, Black Adam. Although I kind of want to struggle to call this a superhero movie, even though it is more about superhero movies, and that is mostly because from my general knowledge of the DC universe, Black Adam, he is mostly a villain, as far as I can remember. I know that that probably there are some stories in which he's painted more like an anti-hero, and I was kind of a little bit on board into having a kind of like a movie that it portrays him kind of that it doesn't star a hero, it stars a villain. But unfortunately, they didn't want to paint it that way with Dwayne Johnson. I mean, when was the last time in which Dwayne Johnson was portrayed kind of like some kind of villain, secondary or main or whatever? The last time as far as I can remember, he was the villain in the Scorpion King, but that was before he was kind of like this big name star that is surely overpaid in almost every single movie, and from that point on, I kind of every time I see one of his movies, he's always acting kind of like a very goofy good guy. I'll say. Again, I don't I don't dislike him. Sorry, I got something stuck in my teeth. I just ate some ramen, a cup of ramen, and it just got stuck. Okay, I wish I could cut it, but I don't want to. But anyway, like I was saying, Dwayne Johnson, he just kind of gave me a little bit of a giggle, and sometimes I just go along with it, considering that the latest movie I seen him in was Welcome to the Jungle. That was the last time I saw him into that, and I was always kind of wondering why such an actor they always put him in some of those goofy movies. And as for this movie, my anticipation was kind of like mixed, I'll say. In a way, I was kind of worried that they're gonna make him the hero, considering that Black Adam is known as a villain, I would say. But honestly, because the trailer didn't sound a little bit too bad, I was just kind of have these kind of worries. Uh, I, I was kind of expecting a movie kind of like Brightburn. The horror movie about the kid who basically is what will happen if someone like Superman decides to go evil or something like that. I wanted to see that kind of movie especially when they get the opportunity on Black Adam. So I finally went there, at least, half having my expectations, half having my fears. I was kind of like half and half, and boy, for 3 p.m. screening, there was kind of like a good amount of people. Not exactly full house packed, but it was packed. So there, I finally watched it, and considering that I know that initial critics are being kind of like harsh on this movie, I will kind of say that I just came out having mixed feelings about this movie. But it is mixed in kind of like a little bit in a good way, I'll say. Even though most of my expectations was kind of like, well, I knew they were gonna do that, and that came out to me a little bit disappointed, I'll say. So let me go a little bit with this movie, kind of like half entertained, but also looking at kind of like in the movie perspective. I was like, well, I got what I got. It is serviceable, but I'll give it this. Considering that I've been through really bad movies of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this is probably the best superhero movie I have seen at least this year at the moment. And this is me coming out from one that I absolutely hated, League of Super Pets. So anyway, Black Adam, what is it about? Well, Black Adam is our titular superhuman that he has the power of Shazam. In the past he was kind of like someone that got the powers, revolutionized some of the slaves from that country from a tyrant king. But of course, because it uses his power for revenge, then the same wizard from Shazam, he sealed him until many years later. He's been freed by this woman played by, hold on, I got the name here. Her name is Adriana Tomas, played by Sarah Shahi. Sorry about the sirens. It always happens when I do. It always happens when I do these kind of reviews. Mostly when I'm not doing anything, they keep quiet. Sorry, just a little rant over here. So basically, yeah, Black Adam, but at that time it's called like Tech Adam. He gets free, and basically you see him, trying to see if he is worthy to being a superhero or not, because there is this crown, which is basically kind of like I wouldn't say a MacGuffin, but kind of like the plot element that anyone getting this crown, we're gonna get kind of like great power, and somebody wants it, but of course the Sarah Shahi character, she wants the crown, so they can hide it in a better place, something like that. And then she frees Black Adam because she had kind of like the power, something like that. And then there's this mix-up, and considering that Black Adam is kind of like powerful and a threat, we got the Justice Society coming to stop him, which involves Hawkman, Dr. Fate, Atom Smasher, and Cyclone. And basically that's the best way I can describe it. This movie, because honestly, if you see me when I talk about all of those superhero movies, whether it is Marvel or DC, it's hard for me to give it kind of like a proper synopsis of the story, because I try to talk to it kind of like in the language of I'm talking to someone who doesn't know, and everyone it might say that, where did this come from, and all these things, and it's not exactly easy for me to talk about a superhero movie, because there's no exactly big reason, and sometimes I got struggle with it. Let me go a little bit with some of the acting at first. The acting, like always, is actually decent, I'll say. I will say that Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam, he does a nice job. It's not exactly a role that you got used to. He's always kind of playing like the super beefy nice guy, but in this one, they kind of make him a little bit one-note emotion, which is technically very angry, and that's basically kind of like something different that they could have gone with him. But his charisma is there, but it's not exactly something that I expected from someone that is known as Black Adam. What else do we have? I was watching IMDb to help me out. Sarah Shahi, this character named Adriana Tomas. She's she's she does her best as she can. She kind of becomes the mouthpiece of the people because the whole movie it takes place in this country that is let's say that is militarized under the under kind of like a big threat from the military. I don't know. Imagine kind of like one of those third world countries that is always kind of like militarized and people feel oppressed. I don't think I'll get to that in a little bit more with that. Who else do we got? That woman also has a she also has a son named Amon Thomas, played by Bobby Sabonji, and this kid. I don't blame the kids, but there's something about the dialogue that kind of makes the kid saying that, "Geez, kid, tone it down a little bit." But the kid kind of plays out kind of like this rebel kid who he admires superheroes. Let's say. I mean, he even has a whole room with a lot of the famous DC superhero movies. You know, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and which kind of a little bit kind of makes you question. So in this world where the superheroes exist, now they have their own marketing toys. This is that was a little bit weird for me. And what else I can say about this one? There's another guy who's kind of like a comic relief, and he's just there for comic relief. Let's talk about the Justice Society, in which funnily enough, the Justice Society is on the orders of what was it? Amanda Wykes, the woman from the Suicide Squad, the character played by Viola Davis. That kind of makes me a little bit raising my eyebrows because I know that this character is mostly into, how can I say, the Suicide Squad, and if you could follow this movie chronologically with all the Marvel, all the DC superhero movies, you like say, where did that group come from? Were they kind of like the leftovers of the Suicide Squad? Well, not exactly, because the Suicide Squad are kind of like villains that they are forced to do suicidal missions. And then they go there because, well, they got intel that Black Adam has come back, and they're gonna try to put him into his place. Like I said, we got Adam Smasher played by Noah Centineo, in which he basically kind of acts like a little bit like the awkward new guy. And boy, that it shows a little bit. There's Quintessa Swindell at Cyclone. Let's say that she has kind of like powers that she can control Cyclone. We got Aldous Hodge as Hawkman. He's basically kind of like the guy who butt heads a lot of times with Black Adam due to something that I will get to it later. And of course, we got Pierce Brosnan. I always call him Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate, and he's basically kind of like what was it called? Doctor Strange. If Doctor Strange had power to see the future, let's say. And honestly, he kind of Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. He was kind of like my favorite character in the movie. He's basically kind of like the wisest of them all. And he has kind of like cool superpowers. And for this point on, I think I'm going to go talk a little bit that there is a villain, of course. And the villain, when it is revealed a little bit from what he is, I was kind of like rolling my eyes. It was like, really, you wanted to go through that? It's goofy, but kind of a little bit serviceable goofy if you want kind of like an arm as a superhero movie. Let's talk about a little bit of the cinematography. There is The cinematography is what you expect from a DC cinematic universe movie. You can tell that it is not exactly bright, but it has its CG. It has loads of CGI spectacles that this is actually what they were used to. Also, the one thing that I did notice is that it does. You can tell that there is a lot of influence of the Zack Snyder universe. Well, it is the same universe, but even though Zack Snyder is not with them anymore, you see that they really fell in love with the slow motion action scenes. I think I can count like there are four of them, and all in the same style, like you see kind of like in the Zack Snyder movies, especially like his Justice League version. And honestly, this is something that I grew a little bit tired of it because it's kind of, it's not that it's a bad effect because it kind of shows more details on the action, but it kind of drags on kind of like the movie, and when it's overused, you feel like that you don't trust the audience to have kind of like an impact. It's almost like, how can I say, you're going through a giant roller coaster, and suddenly the roller coaster goes really slow when you're supposed to be screaming. That's the best way I can describe it. When every time when they go slow motion, I was like, okay, I get it. And also I think it was 2 times or 3 in which an action scene is being followed by some popular pop music or something like that. And so I don't exactly remember which one, but it happens kind of like 2 or 3 times, and honestly, I feel like it wanted to play out cute somehow. One time will happen fine, and honestly, it's a give it or take it in this case. And I think this is all I have to talk about the cinematography. Let's talk about thematically, because this is something that I was actually kind of mixed, but I kind of like what it was trying to do. It wanted to make kind of like Black Adam, wake up after many years, and he's been doing at least something. He is basically not exactly kind of like the white knight heroic type of heroes. You know that they usually the superhero has this golden code in which they must not kill people, not even the villains. But Black Adam, he is one of those that he makes justice by frying people with his lightning. I mean, for a PG-13 movie, you're gonna see a lot of people turning into skeletons and being deep fried, and that's kind of awesome, I'll say. Not many PG-13 movies go a little bit into that route. Of course, that it doesn't have blood, but apparently, someone having a bloodier death is worse than seeing people turning into a crisp and turning into a skeleton. There is something that comes up as a Mortal Kombat fatality, but it's not as graphic as you can imagine. Well, maybe not me. This is kind of just saying about it. And speaking about the killing of superheroes and all these things, there is a little bit of a preachy atmosphere that this movie has, in which, while Black Adam is kind of like killing all these people, he always butts in with the Hawkman, in which he always scolds him, saying that, hey, you don't kill, we don't kill people. But Black Adam is like, well, I don't care, something like that. So yeah, when sometimes they begin to butt heads and kind of calling the nature of superheroing and all these things, this is where it gets a little bit iffy and a little bit preachy. So this one I can I can blame a little bit the script, I'll say. This is kind of like a bit too preachy for a script when you want to tell that, hey, heroes don't kill, but I'm not a hero. Something that's technically kind of like 35% of the dialogue that, hey, I'm a hero, I'm not a hero. Well, what are you, a villain? I don't know. Something like that. It kind of gets a little bit tiring and boring, but still, well, not boring. A little bit kind of like, there are things that could have been better, or sometimes things should not be said because it kind of makes you also kind of question, how can I say, the nature of being a hero, because there are some heroes that another medium that actually kills people, and we're supposed to to root for them, and that kind of makes it kind of like make them interesting. Like for example, Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop. We hail him as a hero, but you know how many people he killed, of course, and so he's not exactly hero. He just do what he can, and Black Adam is kind of a little bit like that. Even though in my mind, I really, really wanted that this movie make him kind of like a full-blown villain, and he has to be stopped or something like that for a title character. Again, like Brightburn. Besides that, then comes kind of like a kind of a little bit of an interesting thing, I'll say. The interesting theme that there is that, remember that I said that this whole movie takes place in kind of like this city that is overly militarized under kind of like a militaristic government here and there. The people feels oppressed. And well, nothing happens, and then Black Adam comes, and people kind of sees it as a sign that finally the people's gonna be freed or something like that. They even have kind of like the symbol because the slaves actually kind of have kind of like this messiah type of character that it is symbolized by doing something like this. But anyway, because Black Adam comes and kills the military people, the town just see him kind of like a superhero. But when the supposed Justice Society comes, then they rescue, the military. The people go, boo, boo, you let him die, something like that. I like that thing. Even again, the Sarah Shahi character, she goes like saying that, some heroes you are. Here we are suffering on this militaristic government in which it cost me my husband. And then you finally show up, and you don't show up to save us from the injustice of these people. You just came out just because you're gonna take out Black Adam just because he's kind of like a threat to you guys. Sorry, I like that theme. I just kind of wish that they shown a little bit more of the militaristic oppression. It just kind of still kind of like exposition here and there. There's a more exposition in this movie than even the exposition of where the Justice Society comes from. So basically, that's kind of like one of those things that I am a little bit kind of like rolling my eyes. I'm not saying that they horribly executed it. I just kind of wish they could have shown a little bit more of the kind of like the town suffering from them. Of course, that this all brings out kind of like to a climax that I swear that it feels like a little bit politically inclined into about revolution or something like that. Although honestly, I'm not I don't mind because whenever you make an art, sometimes there's a little bit of a political agenda, whether you like to put it or not like to put it. Sometimes the heart and soul of an artist, sometimes it leaks into their work. So I think this is one of those. Although I am glad that it's not kind of like heavy compared to I think the Marvel is trying to do that a little bit more, and it backfires a little bit. So honestly, yeah, I still think that this movie could have been better off if at least if they wanted to make it a little bit different. I will take the Brightburn approach, I'll say. And by the way, I will say that I did stay for the mid-credit scene, and it's just a glorified cameo. The glorified cameo is just there just to be there, I'll say. And you know what? Now that I think of it, I haven't even talked much about that crown, which is a crown that is made from this material called Eternia. And honestly, this is kind of like just an item to make a villain. And man, that villain, I'll say that. I kind of wish that there was not that kind of villain, but they just kind of do it because once the villain is totally revealed, my rolling eyes is like, okay, this is where they're going. They were going to make Black Adam look like a hero, unlike the way I wanted to. I wanted that movie to have Black Adam as the villain, to make it kind of like a title villain. I mean, what are you afraid of? Maybe I don't know much about DC about the DC universe much more than any geek for the DC comics here and there. I only know basics. I only know that he's basically Shazam's rival. So honestly, they kind of missed that opportunity to make him the villain, the title villain. Although, well, how did they go there? I still wonder why they were afraid to do that. Is it because they don't want to make Dwayne Johnson the villain or something like that? I mean, villains can be interesting. So there, that's all I have to talk about Black Adam. Do I recommend it? You know what? I had a good time. I think I had a bit. This way, it gave me a better time. Much more that I can say that I had a good time with than all the DC Marvel Cinematic Universe that I have seen. And I will consider this movie a little bit an apology after the shit I went through with Leash of Super Pets. By the way, I speaking of that, I know that Black Adam was in Leash of Super Pets, but I was pissed off at the movie that I didn't even see it. And someone had to tell me that they made kind of like a cameo, and it was like kind of like a pointless marketing cameo, I'll say. Just as pointless as the mid-credit scene that it appeared. So I will leave you into your interpretation if you kind of like it or not. Critics are slamming it, but I've seen worse movies than this one. That one, I would say that it was okay. There was a slight ambition into it. They did what they could with Dwayne Johnson, although I still kind of believe that they could have made it more of a villain than a hero. But it was technically different. So that's all I have to say about Black Adam. Nothing more and nothing less.